If you're watching this, you're probably carrying something heavy. But what if this pain isn't the end of the story? What if it's the place where God begins something new? I can't imagine if God would have put me right where I am today, how I would handle the blessings that He's given me, or how I'd handle the struggle and strife. It's the journey that has produced the person I am today, which is far from perfect, but is capable enough to know my limitations and to know that I've got to trust and rely on Him. I didn't always do that. In fact, I used to rely on my own strength. And that led to more and more tragedy, to more and more difficulty, to more and more pain. I tried to fix things that I had no business getting involved in. I tried to overthink. I tried to force things. But along this journey and enduring that pain, I got to see how God had been faithful the entire time and how pain wasn't pointless. Romans 8:28 reminds us that we know all things, God works for the good of those who love Him. And if everything works for His good, that included that pain, that included my brokenness, my striving, when I had no business to be striving, I should have just turned everything over to God. But that journey, coming through that pain and bearing witness to God's faithfulness along the way, changed me from a person who was self-righteous to somebody who recognizes my dependence on God. If you're in that place where you're feeling down and broken and you're struggling to see how God can be faithful, think about Joseph's story in Genesis, where finally in chapter 50, verse 20, Joseph says, "What the enemy meant for evil, God meant for good." Joseph, who had been sold into slavery by his brothers, who had risen to power and then had it stripped away from him, who was really wondering, he must have, for a long time, my family has given me up, they've deserted me, they must not love me, they're jealous of me, here I am in a foreign land and God has blessed me, but then position and status was taken away. Where is the purpose in all of this? When finally Joseph, in the midst of an incredible national tragedy, and his brothers are starving, they come to him, but they don't recognize that it's him, and they ask for food because he was in charge of Egypt's supply. He's able to feed his brothers, and he reveals himself to them then, and they're terrified, but Joseph says this line, "What the enemy meant for evil, God meant for good." It's the fulfillment of Romans 8:28 that all things work together for the good of those who love God. And so pain may be a part of God's shaping process in your life and not His punishment. It may be a result of you choosing your own way like I did, instead of choosing God's way. But even as we do choose the way of the Lord, our faith is forged in the fire of His presence. In 1 Peter 1:6-7, we read that you have been grieved by various trials, so that the tested genuineness of your faith may result in praise and glory. But this word tested is the same word to test silver, to heat it up. In the process of testing silver, this precious metal, is to heat it up to the point of boiling and then to scrape off the impurities that rise to the surface. This pain, this brokenness may be exactly that place for you. It's this season again for me. As I sat in worship yesterday on Sunday, I listened to the sermon and I was singing with the songs. I was confronted with the fact that I can't do this on my own, that I'm powerless to solve some of these tremendous issues in my life currently on my own. And so I was driven back to my knees in prayer. And it was as if I was kneeling before the very Son of God, and I didn't have any vision, but it was just like he was standing in front of me, as if I could see the edges of his robe flowing in the breeze before me. And there was peace in that moment, because in that moment was honesty that God uses trials to transform us through the testing, the heating up of our faith, so that the impurities come out. And so purpose then is born through that surrender. Isaiah 61 verse 3 says, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes. Surrendering our pain to God, laying it down on the altar as the sacrifice, is this acknowledgement that God, only you can handle this. I'm not going to try to take your place in my life again. You sit on the throne. You are the center of my heart and my life. I trust you, not just with my future, but with this moment, with these wounds, with this pain. This acknowledgement of who God is this incredibly restorative moment where there is peace in the midst of our circumstances. If this spoke to you, I'd love to know. Comment down below and we'll turn the comment section into a prayer meeting. Of course, like, subscribe, do all those great and fancy things so that YouTube knows to push these videos out to more and more people, so that more and more people can experience the Word, at least in this format. And until next time, keep forging your faith in the fire of God's presence, and may His peace